mean I ain't doing God's work on Wednesday night. There's no reason for me to do God's work on Wednesday night. God loves Wednesday nights. He loves AEW. He's a little indifferent towards NXT. He told me. He said, son, NXT does not feel the same anymore. My son, I feel like Vince McMahon is getting involved a little bit too much in NXT. With AEW, my son, Tony Khan, has got things handled. But anyway, man, I ain't doing God's work on Wednesday night. But on Monday and Friday, that's a different story. We had a great AEW Dynamite tonight. TNT Championship Open Challenge. And downright felt like a goddamn pay-per-view tonight. An unadvertised pay-per-view on AEW Dynamite, as tonight definitely signaled the beginning of the road to All Out. We're going to talk about it, and I'm going to rant on a lot of people in the community not really sticking up for Kenny Omega, and they're shitting all over Kenny Omega. For what reason? I don't know, but we're going to talk about it right here. The only place you need to be on your Wednesday night for AEW Dynamite on Off the Script.
I think this is mine.
What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me live tonight right here on YouTube. This is Off the Script. I am JD, and this is your official AEW Dynamite review for July 22nd, 2020. What you've seen in the beginning of the podcast, if you're watching me on YouTube live right now, because clearly you can't see anything if you're listening to me on Spotify and iTunes a little bit later when the podcast gets uploaded over there. What you guys looked at there is the new t-shirt, Doing God's Work, because on Monday and Friday, I know you ain't fucking watching Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, so let me take all the pain for you. Go and get the new t-shirt, and you guys can get that at bonfire.com. I will leave you guys a link in the chat a little bit later in the show, and it will be linked down below in the description of this very video, man. What a Dynamite tonight. Honestly, what a Dynamite tonight. It really felt like an unadvertised pay-per-view for AEW, and it's great because they just kind of sprung it on everybody. They sprung it on everybody, and they didn't leave NXT any time to counter-program over there on the USA Network. And next week is the same. So I don't know what happened with NXT. I really don't. I would assume that NXT filmed already, and they got their own thing going on with Keith Lee and the North American Championship and the special announcement tonight by William Regal, which I will not talk about because I am going to watch the show after I'm finished here. But they had a major announcement over there, and I'm sure they're going to load up their show regardless for that specific situation. But man, oh man, tonight was an unadvertised like pay-per-view show on Dynamite, and next week is even bigger. Next week is an absolutely loaded show for AEW, and I loved tonight. I really did. Tonight felt like there was a sense of urgency. Tonight, Tony Khan pretty much gathered up all the troops, and he said, you know what, guys, we are now. We got through with the Fighter Fests, and we got through with the Fight for the Fallens, and we talked enough about the fucking demos that everybody now understands the demos on Wednesday nights, and that's the only thing that matters is the demos on Wednesday night. He gathered all the troops tonight and said, now is the time we just get our heads together and make a huge push into September for All Out. And man, oh man, did this show have All Out implications. Real urgent show tonight by Dynamite. You seen it, you felt it. You seen it in everybody's actions. Everybody worked their ass off. Great, great show for AEW tonight. The big thing, obviously, coming out of the show was Sammy Guevara, which I'm sure is going to trigger everybody in the community. Oh, he doesn't deserve to have a job. He doesn't deserve to be back on TV. They took him off TV for 4 weeks. He didn't learn his lesson enough. That's all you're going to hear. That's all you're going to hear from the social degenerates on social media, all the Karens in the community. That's all you're going to hear. Sammy didn't spend enough time in sensitivity training, but now he's back. Now he's back, and I'm happy he's back. I'm happy he's back because the show feels a little bit more fuller. I'm happy he's back because now the Inner Circle actually feels like the Inner Circle. They haven't felt like the Inner Circle since they took him off of television. Now, if Sammy wasn't going to be a part of the Inner Circle, then I feel like AEW should have done some reshuffling. But I'm glad he's back. He fits in there like a glove. Everybody's excited to see him. Everybody's got an incredible ceiling. Very high ceiling on Sammy Guevara. And I think he's going to be back with a vengeance on Dynamite. I'm happy to see him definitely back on TNT. The other big thing in Dynamite land is the TNT Championship Open Challenge from Cody Rhodes. Now, we are just getting into the real momentum of this thing. We got the Ricky Starks of the world. We got the Sonny Kisses of the world challenging for the TNT Championship. We got the Jake Hagers of the world out of the way. Now we are going to start seeing some real unpredictable names. And this is where it gets fun. Tonight, there was a huge, I don't want to say debut because I'm not sure what his contract situation is with AEW, but we got a huge surprise in Eddie Kingston making his way into Daly's Place, challenging Cody for the TNT Championship, and it was great. It was great, man. I am a big fan of Eddie Kingston. I'm not overly familiar with his work. I am familiar just enough with what he does, how he operates, how he speaks, and damn, he's a fucking good promo. It's the one thing I knew about him immediately, man. Not only after tonight, but I knew just going back a couple of years, he is a fucking great promo. He really is. If NWA, and I don't know who said it, I think it was Stu Bennett, Wade Barrett, said it today in an interview that I read that was just released today. He said he would be surprised if NWA actually has another show in 2020. And if they are not going to have another show in 2020, I honestly hope that AEW has come to an agreement. If NWA is still going to be around, I have no idea. I don't know what's going to be around in 2021 when hopefully things get better, because I know nothing's happening this year. But I certainly hope that AEW has struck a deal, somewhat, with NWA, with Billy Corgan, with whoever's in charge over there, because if Eddie Kingston is allowed to work AEW, he could absolutely be their version of Kevin Owens. And I think that's phenomenal. And not only with Eddie Kingston, you can bring in Nick Aldis, you could bring in some of the women you got over there, and one that absolutely sticks out is, who the fuck was over there? I know the Rock and Roll Express were over there, and I lost my train of thought. Who the fuck am I talking about? The NWA Women's Champion. What the fuck is her name? Oh, man, I don't know why this has escaped me, but you guys get the point. You guys get the point. Bring a lot of those women and a lot of those guys over there that you're not using right now and bring them on into AEW, especially with AEW now doing this Tag Team Championship tournament. Or not this Tag Team Championship tournament, with the Women's Tag Team Cup that they got going on over there. And I think that would be great. And you're going to need to fill the void of some of the women that you don't have on the roster right now. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But if AEW struck a deal with NWA in some way to grab some of their talent and showcase them in this women's tournament, this tag team tournament, Thunder Rosa. There you go. Thank you for the chat. Thunder Raw. I don't know why it slipped my mind. You bring in someone like that into AEW, man, you are instantly going to put yourself in competition for some of the best women's wrestling in all of the United States. Allison Kay's over there, I believe, as well, right? Bring them on in. This could be absolutely fantastic. I don't want to jump the gun. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But it's going to be a very exciting time in AEW. And the one thing, if you guys remember, the OGs of the channel, I said it. For all the naysayers and all the people that want to shit on AEW, AEW come October. Now, nobody could have foreseen a COVID just sweeping across the world, pretty much. But I said it many, many, many months ago. Come October, when AEW is celebrating their one-year anniversary on TNT, it is going to be a vastly different company than it was during their debut episode. And we are starting to see it. We are starting to feel it. And I am very excited for what is going to happen with AEW in the coming months. Going into All Out, going into that one-year anniversary show, it is going to be a really, really good time to be a fan of AEW. But anyway, guys, thank you so very much for joining me here on the podcast. We're going to go over the show tonight. We're going to go over some news and rumors that I got. News and rumors on Kenny Omega. Apparently, Disco Inferno was not a fan of Kenny Omega, so I got a lot to say about that. And FTR, I got some news on FTR, who we seen tonight, again with Adam Hangman Page. Don't know what's going on, but man, I'm a sucker for good storytelling, and I cannot wait to see where this all goes. What happened with Kenny Omega tonight was very, very interesting, and it perked my eyebrows up. I'm like, oh, okay. Kenny Omega, man, I just feel it, is going to lose it sooner rather than later. And the actions of Hangman with FTR were just very telling. They were very telling. So we're going to go over all that, and we're going to have a good time right here on the podcast. So thank you guys so very much for joining me. Make sure you guys really go and get that t-shirt, man. I'm going to post it in the chat right now. I have it saved to my, there you go. Go and get the t-shirt, man. Bonfire.com. Bonfire and I have teamed up once again, and we are releasing another gem. Thanks to Salrex. Gave me that design, and it's going to be a good one. And I got another one coming, and I'm going to unleash that in a very special way. So keep an eye and an ear out for another design coming very, very soon. But guys, follow me on Twitter, and thank you to everybody that tweeted with me live tonight during Dynamite, at JD from NY206 on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. If you enjoy whatever you see or hear right here on the podcast, hit that subscribe button. We are on our way. Almost there, man. 118,000 subscribers here on Off the Script. I appreciate you all. So make sure you guys do that. Turn on the bell as well. If you missed any of the content that I uploaded on the channel this week, go and check that out. Links are linked down below in the description of this very video. Monday Night Raw was a great podcast. Go and check that out. Lots of information coming out of Monday Night Raw and coming out of Extreme Rules. And I got an Off the Script extra coming for you guys tomorrow afternoon. And then tomorrow night we'll be live with NXT, and we'll talk about NXT and what happened on the show tonight. So look forward to that live stream tomorrow night as well. And then Friday, as always, we got Off the Script, episode 336, and then SmackDown. We'll be working SmackDown as well. So we got a full weekend of content for you guys right here on the podcast. And today's show is sponsored by the one and the only Audible. audibletrial.com/offthescript. Make sure you guys go and get your free audio book. I've been with Audible, man. Funny thing with Audible is that they were the first sponsorship. It's not even really a sponsorship. It's more of an affiliate program that I'm with Audible. But they were the first people that took me in, you know. I was a very, very small podcast, not much going on. They took me in, and I've been with them for pretty much as long as this podcast has been on YouTube, man. All 336 episodes. So I love the fact that Audible has been with me, and they will be with me for the foreseeable future. You guys want to go get a free audio book, please go and do so, man. Free audio book and 30 days of their service. All you got to do is type in that link, audibletrial.com/offthescript. Over 200,000 choices to choose from, and a lot are wrestling related, man. The best thing about it is if you guys want to cancel, say Audible's not for you, you get to keep your audiobook no matter what. And let me tell you, man, it is great if you're going to work, if you're coming home from work, if you're doing stuff around the house, running errands, doing shit around the house, cleaning up, whatever, man. Throw on an audiobook and let it play. Even if you want to fall asleep at night, turn on your iPhone or Android device, play the audiobook. It is yours to keep no matter what, man. So I appreciate you guys showing some love to my boys over at Audible, audibletrial.com/offthescript. Let's get into the show, man. We got Cody versus a top independent wrestler. That is what Tony Khan was tweeting out earlier in the day. He's really been a good hype man for Dynamite. Kind of goes over the top, kind of a little desperate there by Tony for interest in the show, but he's doing what he's doing because he's proud of the show that he's putting on, so I don't have any problem with that. Cody versus the top independent wrestler for the TNT Championship. Tony Khan promoted Cody's mystery opponent on Twitter this week as one of the top independent wrestlers in the world. So that is Eddie Kingston. We'll go over that. Matt Hardy tweeted that the opponent would leave the audience buzzing. Now, I'm not sure if the audience was buzzing, but it got enough buzz to make AEW the number one trend in the world here in the United States. On ESPN, the Dan Le Batard show, Jon Moxley promised that there would be a big surprise for hardcore fans who follow the wrestling scene around the world. Hardcore. Eddie Kingston is that hardcore. So obviously good friends with Jon Moxley. So that was the shoe-in there. The Young Bucks will face the Butcher and the Blade tonight in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Butcher and Blade have been aligned with the Lucha Brothers in the feud against FTR and the Bucks in recent weeks on Dynamite. Adam Page went one-on-one with Five from the Dark Order. And Five is actually Alan Angels, the former Alan Angels, who will have Brody Lee in his corner. And then Chris Jericho, Jake Hager will face Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy from the Jurassic Express in the main event. Also, Ivelisse versus Diamante and MJF in action tonight on Dynamite. And we open up with the TNT Championship match. Cody Rhodes versus Eddie Kingston opening the show. And I didn't really know where they were going with this. I had a completely different person in mind. I thought it was going to be Warhorse. Now, he's on the independent scenes. A lot of people have been making a big deal about Warhorse being Cody's opponent. I believe Arn Anderson even threw a subtle hint that it could be Warhorse in a recent interview last week. How about that Warhorse kid for the TNT Championship Open Challenge? Cody didn't really say much of anything, but everybody was insinuating that it could be him. Now, obviously, we also have Zack Ryder looming. Rey Mysterio is a free agent. He still has yet to sign a WWE deal. And Rusev is a free agent. I think Impact is done picking up WWE scraps for the time being. They just picked up Kurt Hawkins. They got Eric Young competing for the Impact World Championship. The Good Brothers are over there proclaiming that they're the best tag team in the world. And Carl Anderson is proclaiming that he's the best pro wrestler in the world. I think they're both on fucking drugs. And then you got EC3, which, by the way, EC3 is exclusive to Impact only till January. What happens after January? He'll be right here in AEW. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we got the TNT Championship Open Challenge, and it went to Eddie Kingston. Justin Roberts stood in the middle of the ring. He introduced Cody, who was already in the ring when we got to the show, and he was accompanied by Arn Anderson. Eddie Kingston came out to the stage. No music, no anything. Good old Eddie Kingston just coming out with a microphone and doing what he does best, and that is talk shit. I thought this was great. So they said he was an 18-year veteran. 18-year veteran on the indies. He told Cody he grew up around one-time legends like Arn Anderson. He said he grew up around alcoholics and junkies, and he had to survive. I had to grind. He told Cody he couldn't last a day in his shoes. You talk about the sport of pro wrestling, Eddie Kingston said. That's a joke because everyone you have faced is a child. I'm a grown-ass man, and you put, the ground and smile. And Cody said he said Cody is best friends with Tony Khan. He said Tony Khan paid him to show up, and now he's going to kick his ass and take his title. He vowed to Arn that if he doesn't stop yapping to him, because Arn was, I guess, talking some shit to Eddie Kingston while Cody was listening to Kingston talk shit to him, he was going to take his title. He vowed to Arn that if he doesn't stop yapping, he's going to gouge his eyeball out. When was the last time we seen eyeballs being gouged out? Comically, on Sunday at Extreme Rules with Rey Mysterio. He said, it's his time, so let him speak. It's real easy. Relax. You've had yours. So Eddie said Tony Khan said that he's willing to have a no DQ match. Khan said Cody has to agree. I'm willing to give you this match, but Cody has to agree. Cody, obviously being the champion and the man that he is, agreed to Eddie Kingston's no DQ match. And Kingston said he's either an egg-sucking dog or an egg-sucking bitch. And that was it. So we got this match. Justin Roberts announced the match. Bell rang. Kingston attacked Cody before the bell rang. They fought at ringside, traded chops, and this was on its way to being a no DQ match, hardcore style, the only way Eddie Kingston knows how to roll here, man. Kingston whipped Cody with his own weight belt. Kingston exposed the concrete floor at one point, teased the pile driver, but Cody hit a backdrop driver. They exchanged some strikes in the middle of the ring. Kingston used a chin lock. Cody hit some kicks to the left leg because when Cody actually backdropped Eddie Kingston on the outside, the mat was exposed and he landed on his knee. And then Cody obviously targeted the knee, and Eddie Kingston has a history of bad knees. So Cody knew Eddie Kingston's weakness, and he went right for it and exploited it right away. So Cody hit some kicks to the left leg, and Kingston sold the knee. So then we got Kingston using it looked like an abdominal stretch of some sort. He raked the eyes. Cody hit a chop block to the left leg, continuing to work on the leg whenever he can. Kingston came back with a low blow because it's legal. Why not? Kingston then emptied. This was the big portion of the match here. Kingston emptied a bag. In the ring, were thumbtacks. Cody teased a vertebraker. Kingston dropped him in the tacks with a spine buster. My God. They showed the up-close shot of Cody with the thumbtacks in his back. Now, Cody's back was already fucking bruised, or at least beginning to bruise, because Eddie Kingston was just beating the living shit out of him on the outside, whipping him with his own belt, forearm shots, stiff ones to the back, with the weight belt as well, like I said. And then you got the spine buster on the thumbtacks. And my God, man, the close-up shot of the bruises mixed with the blood, with the thumbtacks sticking in Cody's flesh, it was fucking gruesome. Cody is an absolute maniac. The lengths that Cody will go to just go out there and say, look at what I'm doing to get this shit over, man. Look at what I'm putting myself through to get not only the championship over, but the entire TNT Championship Open Challenge over. Meaning I'll take on all comers, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get this shit over. It's unbelievable. Cody deserves just an enormous amount of respect for what he's doing right now. I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better. These open challenges are becoming a little bit more unpredictable. We got Ricky Starks. He came over from NWA. Eddie Kingston, the last time we seen him, I believe, was in the NWA. So he came over from there as well. Who's next? I don't know. Should be interesting. They got people who want to work. Not many wrestlers are working right now outside of AEW and WWE and Impact. The three big promotions here in North America are the only ones operating. Everybody else right now is out of work, or they're in a situation where they can't put on any live shows, or they just don't want to for the sake of getting people sick. So obviously these people need places to work. If AEW is going to be a home for them to get their feet wet, it could be a great showcase. This is being used as a great showcase for the indies, those people who are not working right now. Eddie Kingston's a part of that. Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona is going to be a part of that. Rusev is going to be a part of that. These guys are going to get opportunity. Those guys are going to get signed. I don't know about Eddie Kingston. Ricky Starks got signed. They'd be foolish. If Eddie Kingston is not with the NWA, they would be foolish to not pick him up for a year or two. He fits in AEW like a glove. Like a glove. He could absolutely be their Kevin Owens. He's just a little older. What is the difference between Eddie Kingston and Kevin Owens? Eddie Kingston is a little bit more free on the microphone. Eddie Kingston's a little bit more free with the way he expresses himself in the middle of the ring, but they got the same makeup, they got the same mentality. That could be their version of Kevin Owens. And that's a great thing if you ask me, because Kevin Owens right now is one of the leaders of WWE. Highly underutilized, but he's one of the leaders of WWE. I think they would be just in a really good position if they pick up Eddie Kingston. So I loved it. So the thumbtack spot was just crazy. Cody connected with a back suplex into the tacks on Kingston. Cody hit a series of strikes and locked in a figure four. Cody locked in the figure four while he was laying in the thumbtacks. Screaming, I'm sure, because his back and his arms were just going into thumbtacks. Kingston tapped out because of the knee issue. Cody worked on the knee in the match, so obviously the figure four makes sense. This was 13 minutes of just all-out action. I loved it. I can't wait to see what they do next. Cody is going to defend next week. I'm predicting it's going to be Zack Ryder. I think it's going to be Matt Cardona coming up live and asking for a title shot. And that's going to be interesting because Matt Cardona and Cody are really, really, really tight. And I believe Brandy and Cody actually hooked Chelsea Green and Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, up, and now they are engaged to be married. So there's a lot of closeness there. There's a lot of camaraderie and a lot of friendship there between Matt Cardona and Cody Rhodes. So it's going to be very interesting. Rusev's another one. I'd love to see Rusev in AEW. Jim Ross is incredibly high on Rusev. Miro. He's like, we got to bring this guy in. You know? AEW would be foolish to not bring him in. He's already a made man. He looks fantastic. Never got an opportunity. What do you think Miro would do in AEW if given the opportunity? What do you think is going through his head to prove everybody wrong? He's going to just get in there and be an absolute maniac. Look at the Good Brothers. Look at Kurt Hawkins. Look at EC3. Look at Eric Young. Look at all the guys. Look at Heath Slater. Look at all the guys that Impact picked up. They took a picture yesterday that the Good Brothers posted on their Instagram because Impact taped yesterday. And they had their first episode of Impact after Slammiversary. They all took a collective picture. All of these guys were just WWE 90 days ago. And they took a picture giving the middle finger to Vince McMahon. And Kurt Hawkins, I believe, was wearing a t-shirt that said, I just got fired. So it could be bitterness, or it could be this motivation that was not seen in all of them in the entire time that they were in the WWE. What do you think Miro's going to do when he comes to AEW? It's going to be great. So I thought this was awesome. Cody is still the TNT champion, obviously, and I hope Eddie Kingston does more work with AEW. Awesome stuff. We got a pre-tape promo with Jon Moxley saying he's a straightforward, straight-shooting guy in a business full of con men. A lot of con men in WWE, no question. He said he had Brian Cage so close to 6 months of rehab and the good kind of pain pills. He said next time he isn't planning to let go of the armbar submission. So clearly, Cage is not getting another title shot, I don't think. I don't think Cage should be getting another title shot. Taz kind of fucked that up. But we will be getting Moxley and Brian Cage in the same ring next week on Dynamite. They announced tonight, and I don't want to jump ahead, but Moxley and Cage will be in the same ring. Tag team match with Moxley teaming with Darby Allin versus Brian Cage and Ricky Starks next week on AEW Dynamite. So that is going to be very interesting indeed. We got almost 1,000 people in here, man. 926 viewers right now. Thank you for spending your Wednesday night with me here on Off the Script. Let's hit that thumbs up. We got 320 thumbs up right now. I would appreciate if we got over 500. Let's get it up over 500 for now. I'll give you guys an easy goal. Let's get the thumbs up over 500. If you're in the chat, I would really appreciate it. It helps out the video immensely. We got some super chats as well. Let me read through some of these and catch up. $5 super chat here by Daniel Easterday. Do you think AEW will have women's tag team titles? Do you want women's tag team titles in AEW? Keep up the good work. Your show is always 5 stars. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. I do not think AEW will have women's tag team titles, and we will talk about that in a little bit. And I do not want AEW women's tag team titles. I don't think the division is deep enough for the women on AEW to have titles and tag team wrestling. So I don't know what AEW is going to do as far as that goes. Now, if you're asking me about 6-man titles, we have, 3 versus 3, and we're going to have 6-man trios championships, that would be fine. Because everybody seems to be in a trio stable in AEW, so I wouldn't mind that at all. But the women, I don't think so. JP5150, $10 super chat. JD, great show tonight. There's threes brewing. Divine Symmetry. I knew that was it, bro. And I'm glad that's it because I read the description and it sounds fucking delicious. And I'm going to be getting myself some, no question, man. So thank you for the recommendation. And I can't wait to try this craft beer, man. JP, thank you for the $10 super chat. And we got one more here. DX for life. $5 Australian super chat. Is it me or does Ricky Starks look like Rocky Maivia? And he's a pretty good one on the mic, too. You know, I actually thought of that myself tonight. He looks like a very young Dwayne Johnson. That could be a lot of what a lot of people are thinking. So you're not the only one there, brother. Thank you for the super chat, and I appreciate you stopping by here on the live stream for AEW Dynamite. Moving on here, man. We got MJF with Wardlow versus Griff Garrison. Now, I don't know why this name sounds familiar. I don't know who he is. Someone in the chat maybe fill me in. Is this guy an independent wrestler that is somewhat of a big deal? He sounds like a big deal. Name sounds very familiar for some reason. I don't know why. But it was MJF versus Griff Garrison. MJF arrived to the ring, and he got on the microphone, which is always a good thing. He told Garrison that he's old jacked and tan and ready to go. He said he's in the ring with the Prodigy, but he has a heart of gold and is the salt of the earth. He told fans at home to tell them about himself. Jungle Man, he called Griff Garrison. He said that's his name. But Griff said, no, that's not my name. My name is Griff Garrison. MJF said, oh, I'm sorry. I got your name wrong. But then he said, at least he's not prancing around pretending to be an Ivy League MVP. Because this guy looked like somebody right out of Harvard University. He told Garrison to share how special it is to be in the ring with somebody undefeated. So Garrison said, well, listen, you lost a tag team match at Fyter Fest. MJF hit him with the mic and then attacked him aggressively. And then we were on our way to a match here, which was pretty much an extended squash match by MJF. MJF dominated. We went to commercial break, back from break. So we got MJF telling Garrison on the microphone, because there's nothing better than a squash match with MJF where he gets the microphone and he starts belittling his opponent on the microphone and embarrassing them on the microphone. He told Garrison to tell everyone he is undefeated and has never been pinned or submitted. He got all worked up, tortured him, bashed him in the head until he said out loud that he was undefeated. So obviously, MJF is undefeated. The reason why they are pushing this narrative is because MJF is the number one contender for the AEW Championship. And Jon Moxley's days as champion are over, if that is the case. Garrison popped him in the face with the microphone from underneath, rolled him up for a near fall. MJF fired back and landed his heat seeker for the win, and that was it. MJF wins in 7 minutes. This was a very fun squash match by MJF. Pretty much just keeping you in the loop of MJF. Tony Khan doesn't want you to forget about MJF. MJF is right now undefeated on AEW Dynamite. Tony Khan needs a main event for All Out. There's no better main event for All Out than Jon Moxley versus MJF for the AEW Championship. And you know what's coming. And the reason why it was mentioned here 3 or 4 different times that he's undefeated is because that's the narrative moving forward. They need something to really have this match make sense, and that is the one thing, more so than anything, that they could possibly do that makes sense for this World Championship match to take place at All Out. I can't wait to see what happens. I think Moxley and MJF is going to be not only in the ring, I think it's going to be really, really fun to watch, but I think on the microphone, this is going to be epic levels of just greatness. MJF making fun of Moxley, MJF taking some cheap shots at his wife, at Renee Young. It's going to be great television. I can't wait to see it. So that is your main event for All Out, guys. Get ready. It's coming, and we're going to get a new AEW champion at All Out. No way and no reason why MJF should lose his one and only championship match. It's coming. Tony Schiavone This was Jesse's best part of the show. This was his favorite part of the show. He told me, by the way, Jesse's not here tonight, clearly, because he had family business to take care of. So he watched the show tonight, but he's doing his job at home. But he told me that this was his favorite segment of the show. And he loves Britt Baker so much, he told me via text, I have proof. Man, I can't wait to meet Britt Baker. I can't wait to honor your generosity and just have this meet and greet take place. I'm going to smile the biggest I've ever smiled in my entire life as I stand next to the beautiful and the glorious role model known as Britt Baker. So much so that I'm going to take a picture with her. I'm going to frame it. I'm going to put it right next to a picture of me and my wife that's on the nightstand right next to my bed. And I'm going to kiss it goodnight every single night I lay my head down to sleep. Factual information. Factual information. This is what I was told. I know he's in the chat. He's going to say I'm lying. I hate this. See? Bro, listen. This is factual information, okay? Tony Schiavone got an update from Reba. I don't even know what the fuck her real name is nowadays, so I'm just going to call her Reba. On Britt Baker's nose surgery. How could you hate on a woman that has nose surgery? Look at the damage that Sheeta caused. It's terrible. It's terrible, man. We got to be here for our role model. Come on. Baker called for Reba to come help her. They went into her locker room where she had a sign that said, "The rules of being a role model." So Baker had her nose taped up. She said Sheeta violently busted her nose, but she returned the next week as a role model and the much-needed face of this women's division. She's the face of the women's division, folks. She said her fragile, fractured nose was taken advantage of, which was disgusting. She said Reba revealed another motto. And then she flipped over the paper on this graph that she had. Never count out a role model was the next thing in line here. And she compared herself to Rocky and Michael Jordan, making big comebacks. Now, Jesse actually told me, Jesse's from Chicago. He actually told me that he would absolutely put Britt Baker in the same league as Michael Jordan. In fact, her legacy is going to go on to surpass Michael Jordan. Now, some of you might be thinking I'm crazy, but this is, again, factual information. This is what I was told. Don't kill the messenger here, bro. But no, in all seriousness, Britt Baker and Michael Jordan, really, I get they're playing an act, but, I mean, you got to be somewhat realistic. It's not going to happen. Rocky, fuck Rocky. Fuck Stallone. Michael Jordan, come on. Schiavone said the Washington Wizards never made the playoffs with Jordan. Baker was then obviously upset because she had to start all over. She said she's the Michael Jordan, so don't count her out, particularly at all out. So what does that mean? Is she going to get Sheeta at all out? Is she going to come back at all out? I don't know what's going to happen here, but if I am a betting man, I'm going to say we're getting Britt Baker versus Sheeta for the Women's Championship at all out. And it should be very good. And your role model will be the new Women's Champion. Hopefully that role model gimmick can stand up in the ring. Because she may be a role model to Jesse, but in some instances, she's not really a role model in the ring. Hopefully she knows what she's doing. Taz has been one of the best things on Dynamite. Him on the microphone is just music to my ears. I love it. And I see those puke emojis and those angry emojis in the chat by Jesse. Bro, listen, I'm going to have to dump you. I'm going to have to take that wrench away from your name, bro. I'm going to unmod you. You know, I don't have mods in here disrespecting Britt Baker, okay? Come on. Taz and Brian Cage, loving the act as long as they keep it in a situation where they're not giving Brian Cage everything that Taz had done previously. I don't really want them to go there. The FTW Championship is fine, but Taz needs to be Paul Heyman in this situation, and Brian Cage needs to play the role of a Brock Lesnar. So hopefully they just keep it at that, and they're not giving Brian Cage all the Taz mannerisms and all the Taz catchphrases and everything that Taz failed at they're going to bring on Brian Cage. I don't want to see that. Taz and Brian Cage walked out, and he got on the microphone and said, listen, it was a tough week. Cage almost fired him for throwing in the towel against Jon Moxley. But cooler heads prevailed, and we worked it out. He explained he stands behind what he did as a business decision. He said Cage will never be in that position again. He said Cage would never tap, and he didn't tap because he isn't wired to tap out. He said that's why he is the FTW World Champion, because he has an FTW mindset. No surrender. So this was a very short promo by Taz, pretty much selling the fact that Brian Cage didn't tap out, which I appreciate, because that was the one situation where people were like, oh my God, he's buried. Oh my God, they ruined Brian Cage. Oh my God, how could they? That was a shitty ending. This was poor creative. That was one of the best ways that they could have went about it. It may have been the only way to go about it. Otherwise, the only other thing that they should have done, instead of throwing in the towel, Darby Allin should have came out and caused the DQ. That should have been the first ending that they went with. This could have been a good, solid plan B. If you didn't want to go with that, that would have been a good, solid plan B. But Darby Allin, in all honesty, should have come out and caused a DQ last week. And Brian Cage should have lost that match. Well, not lost the match because he would have won by DQ, but he should have at least looked strong in that way last week, with Darby Allin coming in and caused the DQ, ruining it for Jon Moxley. But Jon Moxley would keep the championship. That's what they should have done. But they didn't do that. So they opted to go with Taz throwing in the towel, which I guess is creative. And it kind of plays up the fact of an injury that a lot of people honestly forgot about with Brian Cage. The reason why he was out and the reason why he didn't come into AEW immediately when it got leaked by SoCal Uncensored, the dirt sheet site. And then Melissa Santos, his wife, had to go on social media and debunk everything. Well, he didn't sign with anywhere. He didn't sign with any promotion. If he did, I would know. I'm his wife, she said. We all knew that he signed. He worked all in. So, of course, when Brian Cage's contract was up, he was going to be AEW. It was creative, but it wasn't the best ending for Brian Cage and Jon Moxley last week for the World Championship. Darby Allin showed face here tonight. He did last week, but not in the right way. He showed face here tonight, walked out to his music. Ricky Starks came from behind and defused the situation before Darby even got in the ring to get one-on-one with Brian Cage. Very, very stiff tackle from behind by Ricky Starks. Brian Cage then picked up Darby on the ramp, power bombed him on the ramp, picked him up again, horsed. He just, big horse style, just threw him over the top rope in a power bomb, taking him out. And this was a 2-on-1 beatdown. Cage was about to hit Darby with the skateboard. Ricky Starks was pounding on him, kicking him while he was down. And Moxley ran down from the crowd to make the save with a barbed wire baseball bat. And both Ricky Starks and Brian Cage with Taz retreated. And that was it. And we got a match next week, which is going to be Ricky Starks and Brian Cage teaming up with Taz in their corner against Jon Moxley and Darby Allin. That should be really, really good. And Moxley, you know, is going to go one-on-one with MJF, I'm assuming. That's the World Championship match at All Out. Darby Allin and Brian Cage, maybe in some sort of stipulation match at All Out. That's definitely going to happen. How Ricky Starks plays into all that, I don't know. But Ricky Starks versus Darby Allin on the road to All Out, take my money. That's going to be phenomenal. So I'm loving what they're doing here. And I didn't really have Starks as a heel, but Jesse told me, away from the stream, watch AEW Dark. Watch AEW Dark. Ricky Starks is here, motherfucker. I didn't watch Dark. I never watch Dark. I usually say, fuck Dark. But then I got Ricky Starks doing what he's doing and the explanation as to why he's teaming with Brian Cage. And then we got fucking Tino Sabatelli showing up on Dark. My boy, Tino Sabatelli. Former NXT superstar. Now with AEW. So this is good stuff. And I can't wait for that tag team match next week on Dynamite. Alex Marvez interviewed Jericho with Jake Hager, Santana, and Ortiz. Jericho pointed out that his jacket was orange. He asked Marvez, listen, Marvez, shut your mouth. What color is my jacket? Marvez said, it's orange. And then Jericho asked Marvez, what color is my jacket supposed to be? And then Marvez snickered and said, it's supposed to be white. Surprised Jericho didn't nail him with the fucking baseball bat right then and there. So he said Orange Cassidy ruined his $7,000 jacket. So now he's going to take it out on him. He then switched to the Jurassic Express. He asked Santana if he smells like OJ. Santana said, yeah, man, you do. And then Jericho looked into the camera and yelled, damn it, and stormed off. And then Hager was like, what are you doing? Ortiz was like, what are you doing? And then Santana looked at everybody else in the inner circle and said, what do you want me to do? You want me to lie to him? Smells like orange. So the inner circle being very inner circle-ish. Backstage, the Young Bucks were getting ready for their match against the Butcher and the Blade. And we're going to go over that because this was a Falls Count Anywhere match. And this was some good stuff. Can't wait to get into that. Let me catch up on some super chats here. I mean, we are 956 deep. Listen, man, I only see 451 likes in the chat. What's going on? I asked for 500. All you got to do is hit the thumbs up. I said thank you and please. Is that not enough for you? Hit the thumbs up, guys. I really appreciate it. 950 in the chat. Thank you guys for joining me and picking me out of everybody going live here on YouTube for Dynamite. We got Jacob Donnelly, $5 super chat. I honestly never heard of Eddie Kingston, but man, his promo was epic. Seems like all New York wrestlers cut excellent promos. LOL. Imagine what I would do on the microphone. Just give me some TV time. Give me some promo work, man. I'll be good to go. But yeah, Eddie Kingston is, he's definitely got that New York attitude. That's why I think I like him so much. And he did excellent tonight. Excellent showcase by him. And like I said, I hope AEW does more with him in the future. I think he's got a nice home waiting for him in AEW. But Jacob, thank you for the $5 super chat, man. Really appreciate it. Quintendo, $4.99. Excellent show by AEW. Their stories got me jumping out of my chair. And we have another packed show next week. AEW is greater than WWE. I love your AEW reviews, JD. Thank you for all the support, Quintendo. You are here every single week, and I really appreciate you, man. Thank you for the $5 super chat. And we'll end with this one here because we got more coming in. I don't want to bombard you guys with super chats. World of Wrestling, $5 super chat. He says, you think Young Bucks match tonight should have been the main event? Plus, could imagine what Lance Archer would do in WWE if he was in catering. I'm sure Lance Archer would destroy everybody in catering, just like he did tonight. But the Young Bucks match was good enough to be the main event, but Jericho and Cassidy, obviously, right now, is one of the major stories that AEW is telling, so that clearly deserved the main event spot. But any other night, honestly, I could definitely see that Falls Count Anywhere tag team match being in the main event. So thank you for the Super Chat, World of Wrestling. I really appreciate it. Speaking of the Falls Count Anywhere match, the Young Bucks versus the Butcher and the Blade. Now, I don't know what you guys thought of the Butcher and the Blade. I took an immediate liking to them when they first came into the company, into AEW. Now, they botched their names. That I would not really botched the name. They botched their introduction. You know, the only one who knew who they were, I guess, everybody who obviously signed them, and then Excalibur. Jim Ross didn't know who they were. Tony Schiavone didn't know who they were. So it's like, who the fuck are these guys? It was just really, really weird and bizarre when they first came on the scene in AEW. Nobody knew who they were. But man, have they settled into a nice little groove. They settled into a nice little role here on AEW. And I know Jesse told me, and this is what he legitimately said. He said, Butcher and Blade are low-key becoming one of my favorite tag teams in all of AEW. And I would have to agree with him. There's something about them now that they're aligned with the Lucha Brothers and the slight change to their look. They look really good. And they're not bad in the ring. A lot of people were like, why isn't Allie with them? Why isn't the Bunny with them? I don't think they need the Bunny. And obviously AEW is doing more with the Bunny now with Brandy Rhodes than she did with Butcher and Blade. So I like the fact that they could stand on their own. And more times than not, she was actually taking away from them because, you know, when you put a lovely blonde in a managerial role outside with two guys like Butcher and Blade, obviously, when she's wearing tight leather pants, she's going to get more attention than what's happening in the ring. So I like that they're standing on their own, and I like that they're doing what they got to do, away from the Bunny. So it's really good stuff. The Young Bucks, man, every time they're on, it just feels like an important show, and I love when they're on the show. They don't need to be there every week, but I'm loving what's going on right now with them, the Lucha Brothers. You got the Butcher and the Blade and FTR all in tangled in this tag team turmoil. It's good stuff. So the Bucks were shown walking backstage. They entered the kitchen at Daly's place. Nice little kitchen they got there. Titus would be happy working out of that kitchen. They entered the kitchen, and the Butcher and the Blade were there. They were wearing, butcher robes, not to get themselves dirty. And Jim Ross said nothing about them being in the bakery tonight. They were there legitimately cutting meat. The Butcher was there with a fucking machete, and he was chopping meat. And then the Blade was over there strategically cutting meat, raw meat. So I love this because it plays up to their characters, plays up to their whole, tag team essence, the Butcher and the Blade, right? And they're there cutting fucking meat. So the Young Bucks come into the kitchen, and then they see them, the Butcher and Blade. They stop. They put their utensils down. They take off their robes. They put their robes to the side. And the Blade actually goes over to wash his hands, all while the Young Bucks are waiting. The Young Bucks were so kind to let the Butcher and the Blade, after touching some bloody raw meat, to go over there, wash their hands, and sanitize before they actually wrestled. How thoughtful. I thought this was great. So the match began. They brawled through the kitchen. They brawled through the concourse. And in the kitchen, the Young Bucks got slammed on top of one of the Butcher tables, and there was just a big brawl. One of them got slammed into the freezer door. Some good stuff in the kitchen. Obviously, they brawled into the concourse, and that was in and around the football stadium, obviously. Butcher and Blade tried to use a red cart. I don't know what the cart was for, but there was a red cart. It looked like a concierge cart. And Blade rode the cart, and Butcher was just steamrolling him. And obviously, they wanted to run over the Bucks. They obviously missed, and the Blade on the cart went right into a huge white pillar inside Daly's place. They brawled around the trailer, the production trucks there for AEW. The trailer had a sign inside that read, "Mud Show Tonight." I don't know what the fuck that was for, but apparently there's a mud show somewhere in Daly's place after hours. That may be AEW After Dark, legitimately. Nick hit a knee strike into a cookie sheet on the Butcher's Butcher's face. This looked ridiculous because you got Nick Jackson holding a fucking cookie sheet up to the Butcher's face, right? And it was a good 5 seconds. Not like the guy was knocked out or anything. The guy could have easily taken this cookie sheet and just threw it away. He's just sitting there like a fucking dummy while Nick Jackson's holding his cookie sheet up. And then Matt Jackson comes over and knee strikes the cookie sheet into his face. It looked ridiculous. I understand why they did it. I understand it's a Falls Count Anywhere match. It's supposed to be fun and just goofy and out there. But, I mean, come on. Seriously. Got to be a little bit more realistic than that. They sent Blade up an escalator before we cut to commercial break. They brawled into the arena. Set up some tables. Bucks teased a double suplex on Butcher through a table, but he reversed it and suplexed him on the floor. Blade went for a tope over the top rope. He crashed and burned. He was supposed to go through the table, it looked like, but he missed the table completely. So he missed the Bucks. He missed the table. He missed everything. They even made fun of him on commentary. He missed everything. And again, I suppose he was going to go crashing through the table. Butcher hit a crossbody on Nick through the table on the outside. Blade was down. The Bucks hit some tandem offense. A lot of super kicks in this one. Matt used the sharpshooter while Nick applied a crossface. Blade made the save there on Butcher. Butcher and Blade hit a powerbomb neckbreaker combo on Matt on the stage. Nick made the save. Bucks hit Blade with the BTE trigger. They set Butcher and Blade up on tables. And then the finish came when Matt and Nick climbed up the tunnels. The entrance tunnels. And we seen Matt and Nick jump off the tunnels. Jim Ross said that they were about 20 feet from the floor. And elbow drops, simultaneous elbow drops right through the table, through Butcher and Blade. And Bucks then covered for pins at the same time, 1, 2, 3. And the Young Bucks win this match. It was really, really fun. And at this point, I felt this sense of urgency from AEW tonight. I'm like, man, oh man, am I the only one that feels this sense of urgency in AEW right now for some reason? You know, they really didn't advertise this show as much of anything, really, but they were on fire tonight, and they were really, really pushing to make this show big. Like I said, it was an unadvertised pay-per-view. So This was really the exclamation point on that, and I thought this was really, really good stuff between both of these teams. Butcher and Blade are coming along, and I'm glad to see that they are gaining some momentum in AEW, where at first glance, I thought they were going to get lost in the shuffle. I really didn't even know that they were going to be with the company, and now they're here, and I'm glad they are. They really are two really, really good workers. So the Young Bucks win there in about 12 minutes. Wild match, and the end spot with the elbow drops off the ramp, off the entrance tunnels. Good stuff by the Bucks. Marvez, he interviewed Lance Archer and Jake Roberts. Archer yanked Marvez into the locker room. He didn't really say much of anything. Marvez wanted to catch up and ask Lance Archer and Jake Roberts some questions. So instead of talking, Lance Archer does what he does best, and he beats up jobbers. And this was great. Jake said that they are getting so frustrated sitting around looking like unused furniture. He said sooner or later somebody in AEW is going to pay. So he attacked all these bunch of smaller wrestlers. There was a whole jobber locker room there for Lance Archer to feast. He threw one guy into the locker. He threw one guy onto some chairs. He took one guy and picked him up so high he fucking crashed his head through the ceiling. And then he took this guy that he crashed through the ceiling. He picked him up by his fucking belt buckle, started carrying around like a piece of luggage, and then he knocked the cover of a trash can off and dumped this guy in the same place where Monday Night Raw is right now, where the ratings are for Raw, in the trash. This was great stuff. So Jake feels like both he and Lance Archer are being misused right now. And that's the storyline with Lance Archer. I don't know what's going to happen with Archer, who they're going to put him with. But Jake said, I told you. I told you. As Jake Roberts' shirt was soaked with sweat. I don't know where they were coming from or whatnot, but Jake looked completely soaked with sweat. And Lance Archer beat up about 3 or 4 scrubs that you'll probably never see again in a AEW building. Diamante versus Ivelisse. Diamante versus Ivelisse. This was a showdown of 2 women who have been featured on Dark. And this is a showdown that I was looking forward to. I'm a big fan of Ivelisse. Diamante is very good. Both 10-year veterans. AEW needs women to solidify that division. And this is something that I hope that they continue doing. Ivelisse and Diamante. I hope that they give them both AEW deals and they are with AEW for the foreseeable future. The big story coming out of AEW is that AEW is having a women's tag team tournament for an AEW Women's Tag Team Cup. Now, there will be 16 women, and there will be 8 teams. Who these women are, I have absolutely no idea. We've seen Nyla Rose. We've seen Penelope Ford. We've seen Big Swole. Anna Jay. We've seen all these women highlighted in this video package that AEW put together for this AEW Tag Team Tournament Cup. Okay? I don't know what the fuck it's called. What is it called? Let me see what it is. Let me look up what it actually is, the name of it, because I didn't write it down. Deadly Draw. So they announced this thing as being a Deadly Draw tournament coming this summer. They actually tweeted out, coming this summer, 16 women, 8 teams, is the AEW Women's Tag Team Cup Tournament, the Deadly Draw. Who will step up? Let us know your team predictions using hashtag AEW Dynamite is what they put out on Twitter during the show. At first glance and at first thought, I wasn't really too keen on this because the first thing, and I know I'm not the only one that thought this, the first thing that I thought about with this Deadly Draw tournament is where are they going to get women? Who are you going to pair together to make believe that they're somehow a tag team? We got the Nightmare Sisters with Allie and Brandy Rhodes, their team. Penelope Ford, who's she going to team up with? Big Swole, who's she going to team up with? Is Nyla Rose going to team up with anybody? Nyla Rose can be a team in all by herself. But who are they going to get to team up together and make legitimate teams out of? Do they even have enough women? That's the first thing that I was thinking about. And then I thought about it for a little bit more, and I watched this Diamante match with Ivelisse, and I came to the conclusion that even though the roster of women on AEW is very light right now, I think this is a great thing. This could be AEW's version of the Mae Young Classic. And that's exactly what I believe if I'm correct in knowing how Tony Khan operates just by what we've seen, I know Tony Khan is going to take a Mae Young Classic approach to this type of thing. He almost has to. And what do I mean by that? I think the matches are going to be given some importance. I do. Because everything that AEW does in this vein has some level of importance. And what I mean by taking a Mae Young Classic approach, how many women in the WWE actually compete in the Mae Young Classic? Not many. Maybe get 2 or 3 scattered about a field of 32. And then WWE goes out and scours the globe for everybody. International talent here in the United States, talent that you've never heard of on the indies. Come on into the Performance Center. Come on into the Full Sail Arena. And you compete. And you make a name for yourself. And if we like you, you get a deal with WWE. That's exactly what this is going to be for AEW. And if that's the case, I am all for it. Because who knows, like I said, what about Thunder Rosa? What about Allison Kay? What about, everybody else that might not have a job right now? It's going to be very interesting to see who they get. This is AEW hiding that they're scouting for talent, and they're hiding it in a tournament. So they're making their scouting for the women's division important by putting a tournament over it. This is their tryout. This is going to be everybody in this tournament tryout for AEW. And I think that's great because instead of bringing in women every single week for Hikaru Shida, because Shida wanted anybody to step up, right? They're doing that with Cody Rhodes already. They can't do that with the women. It's going to be too similar. There's no creativity there, right? Just a very formulaic approach to, let's have an open challenge. Let's bring in a woman here this week and a woman there next week for Shida, right? You're not really getting anybody over in that way because nobody is going to come on in and beat Shida. Nobody's coming on in and beating Cody for that title. So this is the best way to go about it. Instead of putting them in an open challenge with Shida and losing and maybe getting a contract through hard work there, you give these women an equal playing field. And you let them go out there and prove themselves to you in this tournament against each other. And the best are going to stand out. And the ones that aren't really good are going to stand out too. And you know who you're going to sign and you know who you're not going to sign. This is going to be a very good thing for AEW. It really is. So don't immediately shit on it for the simple fact that, like I thought, oh my God, they got no women in the division. Who are they going to pair together? They're going to go out and get women. AEW statistically doesn't have enough women to fill an entire tag team tournament. This is what they're going to do. It's going to be used as a scouting process for the women's division. 2 thumbs up by me on that. And look at it this way. As long as they're not giving us women's tag team championships, that may be coming. But I'm glad that they're not doing, because when I heard this announcement, before we seen the graphic for the Deadly Draw tournament, I thought, oh my God, they are really going to give tag team championships to the fucking women's division. There's nobody in there. So I'm glad they're not giving us tag team championships, at least not yet. So I think this is great. An absolutely big eyesore of AEW is the women's division. They're going to go out and do what they got to do to rectify that. You can't shit on that. Don't shit on it yet. Let's see how this tournament plays out. Diamante versus Ivelisse. This was I don't want to say it was a really good match. It was very basic. There wasn't anything in this match that really stood out. I think both women are very good. I think both women could really lend a lot to the women's division. And by the way, Jesse says Ivelisse is a real role model and not Britt Baker. That's what he texted me. But there was a couple of botches in this thing. A couple of spots where they were not fluid, where they were, miscommunicating with each other. But it was good for what it was. They gave these women a lot of time to showcase themselves, so we'll see if that ends up meaning anything for them. Ivelisse opened up with some strikes in the corner. They brawled outside. They traded chops, which was a large portion of this match. They traded a lot of knife-edge chops. I don't know why. I don't really know why they went with the knife-edge chop and really nothing else in this match. It was all knife-edge chops and maybe 10% pro wrestling. So I don't know why they did that. Maybe they were just compensating for the lack of in-ring ability. I don't know. Ivelisse, to me, is very good. So I know I've seen Ivelisse do a lot better than what I've seen tonight, but, It was very, very simple in approach, this match. They continued trading chops outside, back in the ring. They continued chops. Ivelisse used a powerbomb from near fall. The finish came out of nowhere where Ivelisse hit the ropes, and then Diamante followed her right behind with a cradle from behind, and she got the surprise victory, 1, 2, 3, and that was pretty much it. Diamante wins here. The one thing I like about this match, even though it was very simplistic in approach and really didn't do much of anything to kind of wow you, it was very intense. And you got two Puerto Rican women out there throwing bombs, really hitting each other, really being physical, really being intense. And that's the type of intensity. It's the one big takeaway from this match, even though it might not have been that good, but it was good enough for me. The intensity was there. And that's the type of intensity we need to see all across the board in the women's division. That type of intensity. Ivelisse takes the loss here. Diamante gets one over on Ivelisse. Adam Page versus Five, a.k.a. Alan Angels. This was 8 minutes, and Adam Hangman Page wins this match. Obviously, there was no way that Adam Page was losing this thing. He's one half of the tag team champions. We got Brody Lee, Colt Cabana, and the Dark Order. The Dark Order, minus those two, were standing on the stage. They were going to come out a little bit later in this thing. So we got the Dark Order standing on the outside on the ramp, watching Five go to work on Page. Five got some offense in. Five attacked Page, who was distracted, with a kick. He was on the outside. Page came back into the ring. Five showed some athleticism here. Alan Angels, Five, showed some athleticism. He was really moving around nicely in the ring. Page cut him off with a short and just devastating lariat. Page gave Five a rolling elbow to the jaw. Five bumped into a back bridge, and then Page scored a near fall. Page followed up with a high power bomb for a 1, 2, 3, and that was pretty much it. Self-explanatory. Alan Angels got some offense in on Page, but it was not good enough. Page got a solid win all by himself, but that wasn't even the case. All of this was a backdrop for what happened after the match. Page started to stare down the Dark Order, who was on the stage. Colt Cabana and Brody Lee came out on the stage and joined the rest of the Dark Order. Brody then walked to the ring and addressed Page. He said he's been nothing but impressed by Adam Page. He said he wasn't impressed by the absence of his tag team partner when he was in immediate danger, though. Brody said that they would never leave him alone, not in the ring, not at a bar, and that is what they are going to offer Adam Page right here. Page then took the microphone and said, listen, I appreciate all the compliments, but I'm not really ready to join a cult right now. Shivani then started laughing on commentary. Brody Lee got angry. He said he just made his bed and he hopes he enjoys his sleeping. So threats by Brody Lee to Adam Page. Threw the microphone down, left the ring, arm in arm with Boom Boom Colt Cabana. So Dark Order then walked to the ring and, led by Evil Uno, came to the ring, surrounded Page. They were about to beat him up 5-on-1. Shivani said Brody didn't want Colt to see what they were about to do. That's why he walked away with Colt Cabana by himself. I like that, by the way. Because normally WWE would just leave that little attention to detail somewhere out in the open for people to kind of, wonder to themselves. So they wanted to jump Page. FTR came out and made the save. They thwarted the Dark Order away. They threw a cooler of beer and ice at them. Kenny Omega arrived after FTR arrived to save Adam Page. Why wasn't Kenny out there first? Why wasn't Kenny out there first to save his tag team partner? One half, I should say, of the tag team champions. So Kenny arrived late, and they had already cleared the ring. The announcer said he was late to the party. Kenny then stepped between Page and FTR. FTR gave Page a beer. Before they gave Page a beer, they handshook. I believe it was Dax Harwood giving Adam Page a handshake. Then they gave him a beer. Kenny was in the ring. He got between Page and the former Revival guys, FTR. And then Kenny, as we seen FTR hand Page a beer, Kenny seen them hand Page a beer. He asked for a beer himself. And now we know Kenny doesn't drink. Why is he asking for a beer Now that FTR just gave Paige a beer. Very interesting stuff. And then they just kind of walked away. So Paige is kind of ignoring his partner. He's more buddy-buddy with FTR. Paige showed more emotion to both members of FTR than he's ever shown Kenny Omega. The handshake, the accepting of the beer, the walking away, leaving Kenny in the ring. Even last week, where Kenny was attacking Jungle Boy, or Marco Stunt rather, attacking Marco Stunt at the end of that match last week. Before that, we seen FTR and Paige at the bar drinking whiskey together. Adam Page has shown more emotion to FTR than he's ever shown Kenny Omega. I love it. It's simple. I'm more interested in this now more so than anything else in AEW because I'm waiting for Kenny Omega to explode. I really am. And a lot of people have been asking me all week, even when I'm on Twitch. I was on Twitch earlier today playing Modern Warfare. And a lot of people were asking me, JD, who do you think is going to turn heel? Is it going to be Paige or is it going to be Omega? Who would you rather turn heel, Paige or Omega? I don't think Adam Page should turn heel whatsoever. In fact, I think Adam Page may be the fourth guy in this revisioning of the Four Horsemen. Could be Page, it could be FTR, it could be Cody. Instead of Shawn Spears, it might be Adam Page instead. It's a very, very formidable foursome right there. Shawn Spears could use the rub, yes, but, I mean, when you're looking at Cowboys and the Four Horsemen, Adam Page kind of fits in there like a glove. FTR just reeks of old school. Cody reeks of old school. This is what they were put here to do. I think Paige is staying babyface. There's no reason for Paige to go anywhere and do anything right now. Kenny's going to be the one to turn heel. Because Paige is so over. How could you boo Adam Page? Look at the gimmick. Look at the character. Look at what they did to Page to really make him stand out on his own. Why would you want to ruin that? Kenny Omega, to me, is going to be the one to go heel because he's going to do something that is so unlike Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega is very laid back. Kenny Omega is very easy. Kenny Omega is just very, I don't want to say fun-loving. He's very charismatic when he wants to be, right? Kenny Omega is known as the good guy. He's known as the guy that sees everything right down the middle. In all fairness, Kenny wants things to be fair and equal. He's always the most laid-back guy. And when Kenny finally snaps, it's going to be so not like him that it's just going to set off a new version of Kenny Omega that we've never seen before. And he's going to be the one that everybody looks down on. How could you do that? How could you be this way? What is wrong with you? Where is this coming from? Where is this anger and jealousy and animosity coming from? That's what I see happening. And I honestly think with Kenny going heel, it gives that main event push a different feel for AEW. It would be boring if Kenny Omega was a babyface. Oh, yeah, let's have Kenny Omega as a boring babyface go chase the AEW championship. Kenny needs depth. Kenny needs depth. That's exactly what he needs. If we go back and give everybody the Kenny Omega that you want to see, the New Japan Pro Wrestling version of Kenny Omega, where he was delivering 7-star matches with Kazuchika Okada, is it going to be something you want to see here in the United States? Or do you want to see Kenny attract a wider audience by having character? Do you want to see Kenny attract a wider audience by having storytelling be the most important thing in what's going on right now? And that's exactly what's going on right now. Now, Disco Inferno and Conan, they actually had some harsh words to say about Kenny Omega on their Keeping It 100 podcast. They say this, and I quote, "While Omega got majorly over in Mexico and Japan, he has failed on American television because his promos aren't on the level of top guys. Also, he has not been pushed as a star, but just another guy who can work. There are 18 other guys who know how to work. Omega doesn't stand out in any way." That was Conan. Disco Inferno chimed in and said he had a lot to say about Kenny Omega as well. He says this, and I quote, "If you are an independent wrestler or wrestling in Japan, it is night and day to transition to weekly American television. As opposed to just having matches, you have to deliver on promos, sell facial expressions, and build up a lot of skills on a weekly basis. Omega doesn't cut a good promo," Disco Inferno stated. This is why it has become difficult for him to elevate himself to the level of a Chris Jericho and a Jon Moxley, because his mic skills are not close to those guys. Also, he doesn't understand the psychology of what you need to do in the ring and on the mic on American television. End quote. I found that to be absolutely the biggest crock of shit I've ever seen or ever heard in my entire life. You mean to tell me you have Conan, who can't even walk straight anymore, who was never really a big star to begin with in the United States? Conan? Really? What the fuck did Conan do in America? I don't remember. I didn't watch WCW. What the fuck did Conan do? What did Disco Inferno do? Was Disco Inferno ever a star? The Disco Inferno I know was a complete fucking jobber. You put Santino Marella and Disco Inferno next to each other, I can't tell the fucking difference. Disco Inferno is an absolute joke. He was always a joke. His entire career was a joke. Kenny Omega is one of the best wrestlers on the planet, and I find it hilarious to say that he doesn't understand the psychology of what you need to do in the ring. So you mean to tell me who a lot of people consider the best wrestler in the world, Kenny Omega, maybe not right now, not removed from New Japan, but one of the best pro wrestlers to have ever stepped in the ring in the modern era. You mean to tell me that Kenny Omega doesn't know psychology? Did he watch his matches in New Japan with Okada? He doesn't know psychology. I don't really understand or try to grasp what he's... How could Kenny Omega be so good at what he does, yet doesn't understand the psychology of pro wrestling on how to sell? If anything, when I watch Kenny Omega, and the times that I've watched Kenny Omega wrestle in the last couple of years, his facial expressions and his mannerisms and what he does in the ring and his selling is excellent. I don't really understand where he came up with that. I feel like he was just making excuses for the sake of making excuses. Now, yes, Japanese promotions and American television are two different things. I get it. But to say Kenny Omega is not finding the same level of success in the United States as he did in Japan, who the fuck is to say Kenny Omega doesn't want that level of success yet? Kenny Omega ain't going back to Japan. He did whatever he had to do in Japan, and that is now fulfilled. That part of his career has been fulfilled. Kenny Omega doesn't need to prove anything to anybody, because the only one he needs to prove anything to with what he did in Japan and now his transition into North America is fucking Kenny Omega. That's the only person he needs to satisfy. He doesn't need to satisfy me. He doesn't need to satisfy you. He doesn't need to satisfy fucking Disco Inferno. I'm sure Kenny Omega's fucking left. Disco Inferno saying something about me? Who the fuck gives a shit about Disco fucking Inferno? Are you serious? Kenny Omega's not a star. Kenny Omega hasn't done anything in AEW. Kenny Omega hasn't done anything in AEW. What? AEW is less than a year old. What would you want him to do? What would you want him to do? This is what I don't understand. You want Kenny Omega to come on in and be the Kenny Omega of New Japan Pro Wrestling in the first year of AEW? What good would that do? We would be in the same fucking boat right now if Kenny Omega was the world champion in AEW. If Kenny Omega immediately came into AEW and on night one won the world championship, what good would that do for AEW? You would be right in the same boat that you're in now, complaining that AEW didn't make Kenny Omega into a star, that Kenny Omega is not over on AEW television. How the fuck could he be over when they don't have the proper audience yet? How could he be over on American television when the company is less than a year old? That doesn't mean Kenny Omega hasn't done everything he needed to do right now. That doesn't mean Kenny Omega is not being used properly. I don't know if you understand, but Kenny Omega is one half of the fucking tag team champions. It's not being used right. It's not a star. You could probably consider them the best tag team right now in all of the United States. He's not a star. Go and look at that fucking tag team match at Revolution and tell me that's not the best tag team match that you ever seen. It's not a fucking star. They gave him the tag team championships. Why did they give him the tag team championships? Because the tag team championships on someone like Kenny Omega and Adam Hangman Page are more important now than they ever would have been on anybody. He made those tag team championships the most sought after, most desired tag team titles in all of pro wrestling. So where the fuck do you get off saying he's not a star? He's not being used right. He's not the same Kenny Omega of Japan. In 1 year. In 1 year, you want him to be that way. And if he was that way, they would still be complaining, the ratings aren't up, Kenny Omega's not a star, he's not making Dynamite a better show, this and that. They could find every fucking excuse in the book. Disco Inferno. Disco Inferno. I'm a bigger star than Disco Inferno doing the podcast thing. How much of a bigger star can I be over Disco Inferno? Whose opinion is Disco Inferno? Are you fucking serious? Guy was a jobber in pro wrestling. He's a jobber here in the IWC. Who the fuck is going to go out there and ask for Disco Inferno's opinion? Patience is a virtue. You don't think Tony Khan knows what he's doing? When Kenny Omega is in year 2 and in year 3, all you fucking idiots wanting Kenny Omega to be the Kenny Omega of New Japan, you're gonna get him. And what's gonna happen when he comes? You're gonna fucking complain, let me get the old Kenny Omega back. The one that we seen in year 1. Can never make any of you fucking idiots happy. Patience. They don't have all the things that they need tied up right now. Kenny Omega needs to get to a point. Then you could push him to that level. Let the company get established first. And then when Kenny Omega has been on TV and Kenny Omega's been in front of enough American audiences and in front of enough American social medias, then you push him to the top. You want to make him the world champion on day 1. Why the fuck do you think they hired Chris Jericho for? Chris Jericho's one of the biggest names in all pro wrestling. That's why they gave him the championship at 50 years old. What good would AEW be if they gave 35-year-old Kenny Omega, who doesn't have any interest here in North America right out of the gate, the world championship? How important is Kenny Omega to the American viewing audience? When you beat Kenny Omega for that world championship, how valuable is the title going to be? How valuable is the title going to be? You can't give Omega the championship. Nobody knows who the fuck he is. You can't give me 5-star 6-match Kenny. 6-star match Kenny here in North America yet. There's nobody right now that is going to be able to work that style with. Pac was the only one. The reason why the title went to Jericho is because of how valuable he is as a performer. And look at what he did for the world championship. He made that title more important than all the titles around it. He made every segment he was in more important. He made every match he was in more important. He made that world championship more valuable than any championship in WWE in less than 6 months. Give me a break. Disco fucking Inferno. Disco Inferno. This is who you want to go fucking after as far as an opinion goes on Kenny Omega. I'm sure Kenny Omega's losing sleep over fucking Disco Inferno. Give me a fucking break, bro. Honestly. Moving on here, man. After I got all that out off my chest. So we got that between FTR and Kenny stepping in between them. I love it. I think it's really good stuff. I can't wait to see when the implosion happens. Next week on Dynamite, we got the Dark Order versus Page and Omega for the tag team championships. Don't know if the Dark Order is going to win the tag team titles. Could be something that they do set up and kind of facilitate the breakup there, because it looked like Page and Brody Lee could be a nice little tease for a match at All Out. And if they're going to do that, obviously Paige can't defend the tag team championships if that's the direction they're going in. So more than likely, if that's the case, then they could absolutely lose the tag team championships next week on Dynamite. And it's live. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with Omega and Paige, and that's the next chapter of their implosion on Dynamite. Jake Hager, Chris Jericho, Santana Ortiz versus Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus with Marco Stunt. This was a 2-on-2 tag team match. Santana and Ortiz were on the outside, and Marco Stunt was on the outside with Jurassic Express. This was fun. Fun little main event here, but again, more so a backdrop to everything else. This was just a slight continuation of what we seen happen last week with Jericho and Marco Stunt and the words that Marco Stunt had and Jurassic Express had for Chris Jericho after the orange juice incident. Funny thing is, with the orange juice incident, I don't know if you guys actually heard Chris Jericho on his Saturday night's main event or Saturday night special. He's got this little thing that he does on Facebook, this thing called Saturday Night Special. He said that he wanted, with Orange Cassidy, he wanted AEW to recreate an iconic WWE moment. He says this on Facebook, and I quote, "This would have been fantastic. Imagine this in front of a live crowd of 5,000-6,000 people. Imagine." Now, yes, it's a rehash of what WWE did, but man, oh man, I think people would have went bonkers over this shit. He says, and I quote, "Jericho initially envisioned Cassidy recreating Kurt Angle's famous milk truck bit, only with orange juice. Sadly, the setup at Daly's place wouldn't allow for this type of stunt." He says, and I quote, "Obviously, I got the idea from the bloodbaths that we used to do in the 90s with the blood, which was Gangrel and Edge and Christian. And then we have somebody standing there and they would get dumped with blood. And that was kind of what I had happen on Dynamite. I originally wanted Orange to come out in the venue in an orange juice truck, kind of like Kurt Angle did with the milk truck or whatever it may be. But if you see at Daly's place, whenever they have cars come in, Cody tried to drive it in that one time. And now they have FTR driving, and you can only get to a certain area, and then you have to stop. So you couldn't get the whole orange juice truck, even if there is such a thing. But I'm sure we would have made one, and we would have sprayed orange juice all over the place, and he could have sprayed orange juice on us." End quote. That would have been great. Imagine that. Imagine that in front of a live audience, man, on Wednesday nights. Now, yeah, it's kind of biting off WWE, but man, that would have been great. That would have been an unbelievable visual on Dynamite. So we got the main event here, tag team match. This was a fun little tag team match. We got Jericho and Jungle Boy beginning. And Jericho gave Jungle Boy a lot of offense. They both tagged out. Hager and Luchasaurus entered, so we got both big guys in at the same time. They fired big shots at each other. Jericho cut Luchasaurus off with a low drop kick. Hager continued working on Luchasaurus' legs, cutting the big man's legs out, right out from underneath him. Jungle Boy got a tag and hit a dive onto Santana Ortiz on the floor. Stunt tried to interfere behind the referee's back. Jungle Boy hit a springboard flatliner on Jericho for a 2 count. Jericho hit a right hand on Stunt, knocking him off the apron. So he got some level of revenge on Marco Stunt for talking shit on him last week. So we go to commercial break. Back from break, Jericho teased a superplex. Jungle Boy fought out of it. Hit a high cross off the top rope for a 2 count. Hager tagged in. Worked on Jungle Boy's arm, so you see what they're doing here. They're building up to the hot tag for Luchasaurus, which he eventually got the hot tag. Hager knocked Luchasaurus off the apron. They teased the hot tag, and then he knocked Luchasaurus off the apron. But Luchasaurus eventually got the hot tag in here. And Jericho brought in a baseball bat. Aubrey Edwards and Jericho got face-to-face here, forcing Jericho to drop the bat. Jungle Boy cradled Jericho for a 2 count. Jungle Boy hit a lariat into a double down. Jericho made a tag, and Hager cut off Jungle Boy again. Jungle Boy hit a DDT, a double DDT on Hager, and Jericho finally made the hot tag to Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus ran wild, dinosaur style. Everyone jumped in. Santana Ortiz took the referee and distracted her. Stunt hit a missile drop kick on Jericho into a thrust kick by Luchasaurus for a near fall. Luchasaurus hit a roundhouse kick on Jericho for another near fall. Santana jumped on the apron. Jungle Boy hit flying head scissors off the apron onto Santana and Ortiz. And then Serpentico, somebody that's been featured on AEW Dark, was sitting in the crowd. Someone in a Serpentico mask. I legitimately thought this was Serpentico. Hit Luchasaurus with a baseball bat on the apron. Jericho hit the code breaker on Luchasaurus, and Luchasaurus got pinned by Chris Jericho. How long before people start saying Luchasaurus is buried because he got pinned by Chris Jericho? Spare me. Luchasaurus took the pin, code breaker by Jericho, 1, 2, 3. After the match was over, there was a big beatdown. Cassidy walked out to the stage to kind of chase everybody away with the Best Friends. Best Friends charged past the Inner Circle and fled. But the big story here is during the beatdown. We got whoever was in the Serpentico mask hit Luchasaurus from behind. And like I said, the code breaker, after the code breaker, we've seen Serpentico deliver a shooting star press off the top rope. He stood above Luchasaurus, took the mask off, and it was Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara is back on AEW Dynamite. Full Circle is 100%. Again, they are feeling like the Inner Circle once again. At this point in the show, I didn't know anything about Sammy Guevara coming back. I didn't even think Sammy would be back this soon. I was starting to think myself about the Inner Circle. If you're going to have Santana and Ortiz and Hager and Jericho, it really doesn't feel like the Inner Circle. I would have, in my eyes, creatively, I would have taken Diamante, if she's going to be with AEW, I would have aligned her back with Santana and Ortiz, make a little threesome out of that, break up the Inner Circle, have Jericho and Hager still be together, have Hager be Jericho's muscle. We didn't know when Sammy Guevara was coming back, but now Sammy G is back, and now the Inner Circle feels 100% complete again. And I'm loving it. It's great. Hopefully he's a better man for it. And I can't wait to see all these people complaining on social media that he's back and blah, blah, blah. He didn't get enough time and sensitivity training. How could they? It's never going to be a situation where people are pleased with anything. But he's back. And now next week we got Cassidy, the Best Friends, and Jurassic Express versus the Inner Circle in a 5-on-5 tag team match. Should be some good stuff there. But man, oh man, Guevara's back. And Inner Circle is complete once again. And I thought this was a very good show. It was a fun show. The overall show felt like it had a sense of urgency. And it was almost like a mini pay-per-view. Not really a mini pay-per-view, but a mini pay-per-view-esque feel on Dynamite. Unadvertised. So that was the nice surprise. And they're going full steam ahead towards All Out. So good stuff by AEW. And next week is live, and I can't wait to see what they have lined up for next week's Dynamite. Should be really, really good stuff. So that's that, guys. Let's get into the rest of the Super Chats here on Wednesday night. We got Laura Conway, $1.99. Thank you so very much. World of Wrestling with another $10 Super Chat. Could you imagine what Lance Archer would do in catering? We could only wish if he was there, he would put Vince through the ceiling. A lot of people should be putting Vince through the ceiling. Honestly. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. And Vince is going to roll through the 80s and the 90s and up to 100 years old. And he's still going to be running WWE. Undisputed Era, $10 Super Chat. Thank you so much, brother. Playing some Dragon Ball Z, and the androids are currently taking over. We need Charlotte to come control her family. And I'm donating $5 to both the Britt Baker and Charlotte Merch Fund. Who's getting Merch Fund for Charlotte? Nobody on this show wants Charlotte merch. I might have to refund you the $5. I'll put the $5 towards an Orange Cassidy beach towel. But Charlotte, no, thank you. But anyway, Undisputed, thank you for $10, man. And thank you for becoming a new member. We got Michael Smith. Would you like to see someone like Will Ospreay or Flip Gordon challenge for the TNT title? Love your podcast. Keep up the good work. I don't think Will Ospreay is going to be able to do anything because New Japan is up and running again. And he's with New Japan, isn't he? And Flip Gordon's with Ring of Honor, I believe, right? So why would Ring of Honor do anything with AEW right now? But yeah, those are two names that I'd like to see, but I don't think that's very likely. But Michael Smith, thank you for the $5 Super Chat. $2 Piccolo. Hit the thumbs up, you goons. Yes, we got 630 likes. Let's get it up to 1,000 now. Try, at least. Oh, 750 is an easier goal. How about that? How about that one, man? Edgar Estrada, $20 Super Chat. Loved OTS since I found you after WrestleMania 29. Listen, jackass goon, watch Dark. You're my boy. I need my OTS black mask, bro. I got to hit them up, man. It should have been on there by now, but you guys can go get your masks. Seriously, wear your masks. Mouthmasker.com/OTS. I got to get the black mask and see what's going on with that. If I don't get it soon, I'll put Jesse on a pole with a role model shirt and beat him like a piñata. You hear that, bro? He's going to beat you like a piñata. Thank you for the $20 Super Chat, Edgar. I really appreciate it. $5, Kid Drew. Who do you want to see beat Cody for the TNT title? I want Rusev or Zack Ryder. You want somebody that's an ex-WWE guy coming on into AEW to take it away from homegrown guy in AEW. I don't think Cody should lose the TNT Championship to anybody but Darby Allin. That's my take there. But thank you for the $5, man. Really appreciate it. Aracia, Canadian $5. Just wondering, can join your Destiny clan. PSN is Aracia. You seeing my message on Twitter is like Lexe Bliss saying you're her favorite podcaster. I don't know, man. I'm not in charge of my Destiny clan. You got to X the guys. You got to X my guys. And they're very difficult to get a hold of now anyways. Nobody's on. Nobody plays it anymore. Actually, I'm going to hop on after this is over and play. I got 2 dungeons to do, but nobody's on. I usually play it by myself. I usually go on LFG and find some fucking goons on there, and we get it done. Matt Eagle, $4.99, Super Chat. Do you think MJF is worthy of a world title even though he's undefeated and is mostly made of jobbers? His wins mostly consist of jobbers. Should he beat more notable names first? Bro, we're in July. We got 6 weeks till All Out. Give it time. And MJF is your uncrowned world champion. Simple. Anytime MJF speaks, you listen. MJF is 24 years old and he commands attention of everybody when he speaks. That's how great he is. We got Aracia, another $2 Canadian. Better be like 1,000 likes on this motherfucker, he says. I agree. Undisputed Era, $2 Super Chat. How do you access the member-only Discord? I may actually make it for everybody, to be honest with you. I'm still contemplating that, but I'll let you know on that. You might not even need to be a member. I'll just let you in. So I'm working on that, and I just got to come to a conclusion whether I want to let anybody in there or not, because I feel like it'll be a good little hangout for OTS. And Jesse says in the chat, at JD, no Destiny, we have NXT to watch. Bro, I'm going to watch it tomorrow morning. I'm going to watch it tomorrow morning with my bowl of fucking Raisin Nut Bran and a nice hot cup of coffee, bro. Seriously, I'm done with wrestling for tonight. And CC Steven with a $50 bomb to end the stream. Hi, JD, your podcast is getting better and better. Thank you for how you cover AEW, especially with all these WWE shills out there like Booker T, who's a fucking idiot, by the way. I'll have something to say about Booker T on Friday's show. What he said about Naomi and the fans that supported her is disgusting, and I've lost all respect for him. Booker T needs to know how to shut his mouth, sucker. Seriously. He said some stupid shit about Naomi that we'll cover on the podcast. He even said even stupider shit about Dolph Ziggler. He said if Dolph Ziggler, instead of trying to steal the show every night, and actually wrestled, he would actually be like Randy Orton. Or something along those lines, he said. What? So you don't want the guy to work hard? That's the only way the guy's going to get anywhere. A guy like Dolph Ziggler's not going to be at the top of WWE like a Randy Orton unless he works his fucking ass off. And even then, he hasn't gotten anywhere. He's a loser. We got John Roy with a $10 bomb right at the close of the show, man. Thank you so very much for all your support, guys. I really appreciate you. Hit my music, man. Thank you all so very much, man, for all the support. I will be back tomorrow. I got a video going up in the early afternoon around lunchtime, and then I'll be live around 6:30 maybe. I'll let you guys know on Twitter for NXT. You guys will get the notification. I'll put the notification up. Salrax will give me a thumbnail. We'll be all set to go, man. We'll talk NXT tomorrow and the Keith Lee situation and the William Regal announcements. Apparently, NXT has announced the name of the next takeover as well. And I'm not sure if I should say anything, but it's a number, and it's not an in your house. Just go by how many takeovers we've seen already. That's your answer. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Make sure you guys go get your t-shirts, man. Seriously, let's get some t-shirts. Let's sell some fucking t-shirts, man. In the chat. Go and get your t-shirts right now. Bonfire and Off the Script teaming up once again. Go and get your t-shirts. Doing God's work. My sons, follow me, my sons. Please. Don't watch Monday Night Raw. Don't watch SmackDown. I will do it for you. This is why I do God's work, man. Even God don't even watch fucking Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. Why the fuck would he? Why the fuck would he, man? Thank you guys so very much. Hit that thumbs up. Follow me on Twitter at JD from NY206. Hit that subscribe button down below. Check out the videos that you might have missed earlier in the week and Off the Script last weekend. And I'll see you right back here for OTS Extra tomorrow afternoon and NXT live tomorrow night, right here on Off the Script. Thank you, guys.